Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It's Saturday morning. Yes, we do. We have coffee here. So I thought today we would kind of discuss some of the comments that were left that I didn't get a chance to address and kind of do a follow up on expectations. And when I say you shouldn't have expectations of other people, I'm looking at it more on a personal level of what they're content with. Now, as an employer to an employee, yeah, my expectations are, and if they aren't met, then X, Y, and Z happens, right? Stay with us. All right, so welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric. And on the weekends, we kind of go off topic. Heck, I do that sometimes during the week. As you can see, I got my dogs with me. This one is Sheeby, and the other one underneath the computer desk, hiding, is Shelby. She's bigger than Sheeby. They're sisters from the same batch, and they get along most of the time. Pretty much most of the time. But you're going to hear them growl at each other and bark. So, see? So we'll get through this. So when we're talking about expectations on other people, it is a personal level. It's what do I expect the other person to do, say, and the problem that develops, and Ed, you hit the nail on the head with a hammer, is a lot of times in relationships, we go into them without understanding expectations of what we should expect from each other and how to make us a good smooth running engine per se, instead of backfiring and having no starts. Backfiring and no starts would be where you can't agree on anything. You can't agree on finances. You can't agree on where you're going to work, where you're going to live, who you're going to go to for the holidays. Is it his parents, her parents? All this stuff has to be kind of hashed out. And I know years ago, the Catholic Church used to do a lot of counseling like that. And they kind of encouraged you to go to that to work out all the bugs, beforehand, before you got married. And that you were as close a match as possible. Or there's no perfect relationship. There are some that people feel are perfect, but there's not anything perfect. And people that strive for perfection, if you're striving for to get as good as you can get, that's one thing. But if your goal is to become perfect, then you're misguided, because how do you define perfect? Perfect is no flaw. Human trait tells us that we all have flaws, good and bad, some quirky, but our flaws a lot of times are what people are attracted to, because it shows we're human. It shows we're not above everybody else, right? So in marriage, you have to come to a certain expectation of each other and fine tune it. Because, a lot of relationships start out, that they met online now, or they've talked with each other for a year, through Snapchat or what have you, Zoom. and they think they know each other. And then my wife watches this 90-day fiance of these ones from other countries and this and that. And then they actually think that that's going to work. You can't go by videoing to get to know somebody, honestly. Because most part, people are not going to be totally honest with you about who they are. Because they're trying to impress you. All right? Or there's something in it that they want as far as taking advantage of you when it comes to these TV shows, which I think are crap. But people find them entertaining, or they would, these reality ones, or they would stop making them, I guess. But the thing is you could chat with somebody for a year, whether it be through the phone, here, what have you. And you really still don't know that person. And you don't really get to know that person even when you're in person with them until you've been together and around each other for a little while. And that's when you start finding out what the other one does or doesn't do that drives you crazy. And that's okay. That's common. I mean, there's things about me that drive my wife crazy. There's things about me that my friends that drives them crazy. But they've accepted that. Okay? They know it. I'm an open book. I just, there's no other way to be when you get to be my age. What do you got to hide? What do you got to, try to prove to somebody? I don't. And there's things about my wife that drives me nuts. But I love her, and I accept certain things because I know what they are. And if you know what they are up front, and that's like marriage counseling and what have you, then you went into it with both eyes open. Now, if you could see that, but you disregarded it as just not an everyday occurrence, and then you got into a relationship and you found out that, yeah, that person is that way, then, but it's like a clean, neat freak in a home. As you can tell, we are not clean, neat freaks. I live comfortable. I don't need to have everything in a certain particular order. But there are people out there that, whether it's mental health or what have you, they just like everything spotless. So they fall into one of two categories. One, trying to impress, because you never know who might stop in. And when you have people over for the holidays, everything has to be perfect, right? Because you're trying to impress other people. And then you have the other ones that it's built into their brain thinking that they have to have everything clean all the time. And I knew this gal that she would be up all hours of the night with a toothbrush, cleaning the tiles in the bathroom and the kitchen. Yeah. Because she got it in her head that it was dirty. And she had to get it clean. And she'd be out there on her hands and knees scrubbing with a toothbrush to get that clean. That's what I mean. There's two types. One that impress, the other bordering on mental health, that you got a little issues going on there. But the gal that, was up all hours of the night with a toothbrush, she's a great person, but she just has that issue. So you need to go into a relationship, let's say with her, knowing that that's one of her issues, is Everything has to be a certain way. Nothing can be out of place. And heaven forbid, if you come into the house and you move, a book off from this stand and place it on that stand, because it throws her off. That's what I mean by expectations. If you know these things going in, then that's great, and you found a way to let each other be each other, and accept them for who they are and their flaws. I mean, that's. But now, if we get on to boss, employees, and so forth, like Ed was saying, is correct as well. Now, when I hire somebody to work in my shop, hey, shop, when I hire somebody to work in my shop, I have certain expectations of what they will be doing. Now, some are going to be happy with just doing the minimal amount of work, the minimal expectation that I have. And as long as they meet that expectation, that job duty for the day, I mean, is there more than I should ask of them? And then you're going to have that employee that's going to do his job probably faster, and he's going to go looking for other things to do to help out the other mechanics that are behind and so forth, or help out the other employees. But he or she sees things that should be done, so they just go ahead and they do them, even though it's not, quote unquote, their job. Now you take both those employees, and my expectations are that when they come in, they are going to be here on time. They're going to be able to work on the equipment that comes in, and they're going to be able to do it in a timely fashion. And the big thing here is honesty and being just truthful. We don't lie and anything else here at the shop. So if employee A meets that expectation of what the job description is, then I really can't get down on them, right? But employee B is going above and beyond the job expectation, description, and is helping out other areas. Which one do you think is going to advance? Which one do you think is going to want to do trade schools? Which one do you think is going to, keep rising up through the ranks? It's the guy that gets his job done and then helps everybody else out. But yet, employee A is pissed if they don't get a raise, but they do the bare minimum. You just trudge along. They put in their 8 hours a day, and they're not speedy. But yeah, they don't understand why employee B is more apt to get a raise than they are. And if employee B does get a raise, then employee B normally gets the name of ass kicker, brown noser, what have you. Whereas, you can't get upset with employee A because they met your expectation of what the job description was. You would rather have more B's than A's. But if they come to work on time, they get their work done, and they're knowledgeable. And the big thing with me is meshing with each other. You need to play fair, and when you're working on the job, And that means, I mean, I don't want, everybody standing in the corner visiting and everything else when the work needs to be done. I mean, everybody gets along and there's no backstabbing. There's no running to me about issues. They take care of it themselves because I feel that they're grown adults. I already raised my kids. I didn't get into business to raise more kids. And I've seen, people in their 40s and 50s act like children, actually 60s, of thinking that that's the way to do it is, to just keep turmoil in the shop and just, gossiping and everything else and telling things that they are clueless about and having it repeated. Because with gossip, you have to take this into consideration. With gossip, it starts out somewhere here around the truth. But every time it gets told to the next person, something either gets added or subtracted from that story. And by the time you get to the story, and it could be fourth or fifth person, it could be something totally not even close to what happened originally. And that's why I always say, it's better to go to the horse's head than talk to the horse's ass. And the horse's ass is someone spreading gossip. If I'm concerned or I want to know something about if there's an issue, I go to the person that's being gossiped about and I straight up ask. I don't keep passing it on. I don't believe in gossip. If people want other people to know what's going on in their life, they can tell them. But if they tell me, it's in confidence. That's where usually I stop. I mean, I have no need to, put out other people's dirty laundry per se. But see, there is a difference in expectation too, that some people may expect employees to be more like B. And if you're not like B, then they get rid of A. But yet A is doing the job. He's competent. Is doing the job description. And you need to keep some of the A's around, okay? Because a lot of times the B's will learn, but the B's will feel like they have nothing more to learn from that position. And if you don't have anything, that they can go higher to, then they'll start looking elsewhere. And some of them will even go out and start their own shops or their own businesses after they've learned, from you. See, that used to bother me to a certain extent, that I watch a couple of different companies that I work for. And the biggest thing when it comes to hiring new employees is training. And both these employers had the same tactic as far as it wasn't how much experience they had with doing that job. It's the ability to learn and the willingness to learn. Those are the two key factors that would either get you hired or not. It wasn't that you'd done the job for the last 20 years, because these companies wanted you to do it a particular way. And a lot of times trying to get an old dog to go one direction when they're so used to doing another direction, they start meshing, okay? But I would watch these guys get hired, and they would come to work for us. And we would spend 6 months training them on how to do whatever they wanted to learn, right? But after the 6 months was over and they were on their own, a lot of them left within the first year to other companies that were willing to pay them more money because now they were trained. And they didn't feel like they owed the company that had trained them anything. They had no loyalty. You know, it's kind of like, I mean, I felt that they should have been a lot loyaler to these companies that took the time to have all of us guys train these guys and have to keep, it's just like a constant training cycle. But a lot of headhunters would do that. They'd be looking for the ones that were trained, that they could put right into positions. And you couldn't, see, I've never been a person to hold people back either, you know, but you owe so much to your employer, you know, as far as I'm concerned. If they've been really good to you and stuff. But I know, like, with past employees that we've had, you know, Krista was one of them. I mean, I really hated to see her go. She was basically running the business, to be honest with you. She's my niece. I'm biased, but she did. Everybody loved her. Customers, employees, everybody loved her. But when she came to me and she said she would like to try to go back to college and become a pharmacist, I am the last person to stand in anybody's way of trying to better themselves. And you need to have that same thought process too, you know. If somebody is trying to better themselves, then you should be helpful instead of being hindersome, you know. So I'm going to start wrapping this up. So yeah, Ed, there is a difference of expectation, whether it be in a personal setting or in a work environment. And you're right, we have to, as, you know, I don't care if you're military or, you know, you join the ranks of law enforcement, there's procedures you have to follow. And even whether you're working in small engine repair and stuff, that there's certain expectations that are placed upon you by your employer. And if you don't meet those expectations, then they're not going to keep you. You're going to be given your walking papers. So yes, we have to have certain expectations when it comes to work and getting the job done and getting it done correctly. Relationships, that's a little kind of a little different type thing, and that's where getting to know the person really well in the beginning is helpful. And the biggest thing I can say to you folks that are in relationships early on, the only way it's going to work is if you can be 100% honest with the other person. If you feel comfortable telling that other person anything about you, then you got to keep her. But if you're hiding stuff about yourself and you don't feel you can be totally honest with them, then you shouldn't be with them. And this has no slant on the other person. It's more on you. Because you may have trust issues of feeling you can't trust other people. But now if you told the person that you're with early on that you do have trust issues, and this is why, if it's somebody that is going to make a great partner for the long run, will help you through it. I mean, if that makes any sense. The biggest thing with anything is nobody's perfect. And, you know, the young lady that's thinking that she wants to marry a prince, this and that, but ends up with cats because she can't find that prince and is unwilling to settle for anything less. I feel bad for you because you missed out on a lot. So really get to know the other person before you say I do. And when it comes to work, if you're the type of person that is content with just doing the bare minimums, I can't fault you. And if you're the type that gets the job done quickly and wants to help other people and excel, that's great too. We're not all the same. So on that note, you guys have a great Saturday. Hopefully I haven't put you to sleep. And again, thanks for bearing with me with the dogs. All right. Catch you later.